Counting or not counting gang violence?
Oh my God. Wait, Cody, go, run, run. Oh.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
What the fuck?
That's the right to make sign.
You guys okay? Okay, love you. Be safe. Okay, be safe. Apparently there's been a shooting. I don't know who's been shot. We are here live at Utah Valley State University. I don't know if that was shots or if that was fireworks.
It was the kind of day that should have been remembered for spirited debate, not tragedy. Picture this. A bustling campus quad at Utah Valley University. Sun beating down on 3,000 eager faces. People buzzing with anticipation as Charlie Kirk, the firebrand conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, prepared to address the crowd under a white tent emblazoned with defiant slogans. No one anticipated that those next few moments would make headlines across the world. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A single shot pierced the air, cutting through the clamor and instantly turned hope into horror. Kirk, once animated and lively, recoiled as blood streamed from his neck. Panic swept the courtyard. Gasps and screams echoed as students and families dropped to the ground or bolted for cover, searching for safety and answers in the din.
Because we are getting new reporting in right now from the president about Charlie Kirk, as this was actually a fatal shooting coming down right now on Truth Social from the president of the United States, saying the great, even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, family. Charlie, we love you. So obviously an unfortunate finality to this as the shooting transpiring at Utah Valley University. I just want to put up just some of these scenes one more time of the suspect still very much at large, that according to the university right now, but President Trump saying on social media that Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator, is dead. An unfortunate moment here in time as we are talking about the political violence that continues to be heightened.
Before diving into this chilling story, take a second to like, comment, and subscribe. Your engagement helps unravel and share these critical moments with the world. In the hours before the assassination, Kirk was in his element. Just 31, he was a catalyst for youth activism, a close ally to President Trump, a provocateur whose American comeback tour was meant to energize campuses and inject new fire into national debates. His rise had been meteoric. Youth speaker at the 2016 Republican National Convention, aggressive defender of Trump-era policy, and a relentless critic of left-wing ideology. Some saw him as a visionary, others as a divisive force in an already fractured American political landscape. Utah Valley University was his latest stage, the heart of a new movement, and tragically, the scene of his final appearance. Questions were flying, debates about hot-button issues like gun violence and transgender rights had just reached their crescendo. And Kirk, microphone in hand, responded with the kind of bluntness that both won him fans and invited fierce opposition. At that very instant, while discussing gun violence, a gunman across the rooftop made Kirk the next headline. Within minutes, the event shifted from campus discourse to crime scene. Security rushed to evacuate Kirk from the tent, whisking him away in a private vehicle in a desperate bid for survival, while students pressed flat behind folding chairs and faculty scrambled to secure the perimeter. In the swirl of confusion, only one fact seemed certain. Charlie Kirk had been shot, and the shooter was nowhere to be found. Rumor and speculation filled the void. Early reports indicated that a person had been taken into custody, sparking hopeful headlines, but these hopes proved fleeting. The individual was soon released, and police made clear that the real suspect was still at large. Conflicting information from law enforcement only deepened the uncertainty.
We just started getting word just a couple of moments ago that Charlie
Kirk has been shot. We have very few details so far coming in on this. We're dependent on witnesses. Okay. Utah Valley University. And he was speaking in front of a crowd. And in that moment, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was speaking about obviously trans issues in the country today. When a shot or shots rang out, and we can now confirm via Jason Chaffetz, who was at the event at Utah Valley University, that shots rang out as Charlie was talking about transgender mass shootings. Per Jason Chaffetz, a witness there says he can't say that he saw blood, but he saw him get, he can't say also that he saw him get shot, but he did hear the gunshot ring out, and he was watching Charlie, and then he fell back. And
social media fanned the flames, mistakenly identifying innocent parties as suspects, spreading images and names far and wide, and raising intense debates about responsibility and the power of misinformation in the digital age. As darkness fell over the evacuated campus, a monumental effort swung into motion. SWAT teams, federal agents, and local police methodically searched every corner of the university, reviewing security footage, collecting countless witness accounts, and canvassing nearby neighborhoods. The details that did emerge were stark and chilling. The shooter had fired a single high-caliber round from the rooftop of a nearby academic center, expertly targeting Kirk as he answered a question about mass shootings in America. The bullet's trajectory left little room for doubt. It was an act of deliberate, targeted violence, a political assassination that sparked outrage across every corner of the national stage. America awoke to shock, grief, and rage the next morning. President Trump, visibly shaken, ordered flags to half-staff and decried the shooting as an attack not just on one man, but on free speech and democracy itself. Well, this is a tragic day for our nation. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox announced, calling the attack a political assassination and vowing justice. Leaders from both sides of the political divide weighed in. Republicans mourned the loss of a great patriot, while Democrats condemned violence and called for unity, even as the nation's wounds grew deeper with every breaking update. Tributes to Kirk poured in from across the country. Students he inspired, colleagues he mentored, and critics who, regardless of political gulf, recognized the danger of such violence in public life. Even as the investigation ramped up, crucial questions remained unanswered. The shooting instantly reignited fierce discussion about the safety of public figures, the conduct of campus security, and the knotty problem of protecting free speech amid growing polarization.
That the great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. So interesting that it's the president that brings this news. Now, as far as what more we know about the incident that led to Mr. Kirk's death, it comes after he was shot at Utah Valley University. We know the 31-year-old right-wing political activist was hosting the event at the time, so it was his event. It's the kind of back and forth discussion that he's known for having, where he challenges people to debate his political ideas, in person. And we're hearing that at the time the shot was fired, he was responding to some questions about transgender ideology. So there is some chilling, and I should definitely say, David, some unconfirmed video of Mr. Kirk being hit sort of directly in the upper body and slowly falling back and to his left. And since then, the university originally came out and said that the shot came from a couple hundred meters away. They've stuck with that, and there were initial reports from the university as well that the shooter was in custody. That's since been reversed. So it's unclear, as you mentioned in the introduction there, if the suspect has been apprehended. It doesn't appear so at this time. We do know there's a number of agencies, combing through the campus, including the FBI, looking for the shooter. Of course, obviously the university campus has been closed. And again, the latest here is Mr. Kirk has succumbed to the injuries that followed this shooting. Right, and there were images of the incident online. There were images of the man who was believed to be the suspect and the shooter, and if you saw that on your social media, that has all been repudiated now. So just so you know, there's always a fog of war and a chaos in the event, moments after an event like this. Now look, Charlie Kirk,
a very polarizing and controversial figure, but very close to Donald Trump, an important part of his election victory last year. For people who don't follow U.S. politics at this level and in this, walk them through who is Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, that's the question. And we should say, right, you mentioned the fog of war here and sort of trying to parse out this. We don't know why Charlie Kirk was shot. We don't know what motivated this shooter. We may never know. But what do we know about Mr. Kirk? You're absolutely right. He's a very popular voice in conservative circles, millions of followers on social media, big supporter of Donald Trump, created that nonprofit organization called Turning Point USA, which goes to campuses, high schools, universities, and advocates for conservative ideas. And he's been credited with helping to deliver those younger voters to the Trump campaign that helped them win the election. And of course, the U.S. president also the victim of an assassination attempt, right? So they have that in common as well. So there's a bond there, I think. And I think the one thing we can definitely say, this kind of political violence, right, it's being condemned. We saw that when Donald Trump was shot as well, by folks from all political stripes. We heard from California Governor Gavin Newsom like almost immediately after this shooting took place, writing that the attack on Charlie Kirk is disgusting and vile and reprehensible, and in the United States of America, we must reject every form of political violence. So, I guess what's clear here, right, is if this is politically motivated, which it may be, just a tragic and kind of visceral example of how tense and polarized the political climate is here in the United States, David.
Yeah, 31 years old, married, I believe, 2 children, and the news of his death confirmed by the president himself. All right, Aaron Collins, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll continue to follow this breaking story throughout the show.
Kirk had always been a lightning rod, but in the weeks leading up to his murder, tensions had reached new heights, with high-profile protests and credible threats shadowing his tour stops. 6 officers and a private security detail had been on hand that afternoon, yet the killer still managed to execute a swift and fatal strike, fueling criticism, demands for accountability, and suspicion about potential lapses in security. Adding to the confusion was the flood of contradictory statements. Within hours of the shooting, officials vacillated, first suggesting a suspect was in custody, then walking back those claims. The real perpetrator had vanished, citywide manhunts launched, and speculation ran wild. Law enforcement officials cautioned against jumping to conclusions, warning that the spread of misinformation online could hinder the investigation and put more lives at risk. Meanwhile, families of those wrongly identified as suspects faced online harassment and threats, underscoring the dangers of viral rumor in a world driven by speed, not accuracy. Beyond the crime scene, the killing became a touchstone for broader debates. Critics pointed to the hazards of inflamed rhetoric, while allies insisted that Kirk's legacy must not be defined by violence or silenced by fear. His wife and young children, present at the event but unharmed, became symbols of unimaginable heartbreak. Their grief echoed in the national response, sparking calls for unity and a return to civil discourse. Media outlets dissected every frame of video, every witness account, and every strand of forensic evidence, but the search for clear answers only turned up more questions as the hours dragged on. At the heart of the story is a chilling uncertainty. As of today, no one has been arrested for the assassination, a fact that haunts both the investigation and the national psyche. SWAT teams continue their relentless search, communities lock their doors, and every citizen following the news is left to ask, who planned this and why? Was it a lone actor, a coordinated plot, an act of political retribution, or a random tragedy spun out of America's fevered political climate? The lack of resolution fuels conspiracy theories, online outrage, and anguished debates about gun control, mental health, and the future of protest in a democracy teetering on the edge. Amidst the outpouring of support and the barrage of opinion pieces, a somber unity emerges, a shared recognition that something profound has changed. Kirk's death doesn't just represent the loss of one man, it's a signal flare for anyone who cares about free expression, public safety, and the boundaries of political combat. The images of his final moments, blood on his neck, panic in the crowd, the stunned silence followed by screams, are seared into the nation's memory. His legacy, for better or worse, will now be intertwined with questions about the cost of extreme rhetoric and the obligations of those who wield influence in an era marked by volatility. Will law enforcement solve this high-profile murder before another tragedy occurs? Can public discourse recover from such a vicious blow? And how can communities ensure that debate, activism, and protest survive without succumbing to violence? These are the questions left on every viewer's mind tonight, and they're questions that demand answers, not just for Charlie Kirk's family, but for a nation on edge. So join the conversation below. What do you think led to this shocking tragedy? How should America balance free speech and public safety going forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video for more in-depth investigations and real-time updates on the stories that shape